Hello, August. How are you? It's Past Podcast. We'll be recording every day for the month of August. Having to remember not to say April is an adjustment since I just did this a couple of months ago. But this is the past, or the Past Podcast. And we're podcasting each day in August. So check out the show. You might find something new. As the saying goes, once you work hard, you get the ability to play hard. Don't even realize that now that I'm counting the episodes by numbers, and especially with the episodes being done daily for the month of August, doesn't even seem like we're at episode 110. What is going on? This is The Past. I am your host, BT, aka Brian, aka Petty Pablo, aka Keep It 100, aka Work in Progress. I know that's like a lot of aliases, but those who know me know most of them, if not all, apply. I truly can admit today was a day needed of relaxation and reflection. But I also know with doing the episodes for the podcast, I want to be sure that I'm sharing and getting the information to the masses. And I'm sorry, I don't know if I did or did not share this in the previous episodes because I was somewhat in go mode, which, as many of you know, is constant and non-stop. But the episodes are being uploaded to the Spreaker app through Spreaker.com. So if you are able to access them, Spreaker.com/Brightate Podcast is where I store my podcasts. Of course, I do have them housed on iTunes, Google Music, Stitcher, and podcasts.com. That's with an S. So if you're able to check out the shows in those avenues, it's appreciated, believe me. And also, each episode is being recorded using the Blue Yeti microphone. I've had people give me different suggestions or options that they've used for podcasting. And I don't have a knock against one over the other. I just know I've gone through what I've gone through microphone-wise. I've even used a Samson Meteor. That microphone lasted probably about a year, maybe year and a half, give or take. I've had my Yeti since January, and here we are, August, and I don't regret the decision. Just like anything, it's like a phone. Buying a case for it was pretty much one of the best investments as well, because that kind of caused me to be a lot more observant with just making sure, hey, I'm done recording, put it away, store it, keep it moving. So today's episode, or tonight's episode, or this morning's episode, however you want to coin it, it's a bit of a different spin, but it's kind of my thing, and it works for what I'm doing and where I'm at. So as many of you may or may not be aware, the month of August has been about doing more branding and more networking. As I did in April, I did the podcast every day in April, which was a pretty strong success. Right now we're doing the podcast every day for August, and initially with posting episodes, it's kind of been a in and out process. Like some moments recording is no problem. Other times getting episodes recording has been, oh, I need to record, let me get something loaded. As you can see today, this episode will likely get up before it will be posted by 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is kind of different for me, but as I've always learned, once my insomnia moments happen, it's kind of almost better to just get it done and keep it moving. Transitions have been going on in my life, and if it works out to my advantage, this may work for me in the future, so we'll see on how that all comes together. But I will be the first to admit and come clean in saying that I've been like doing April. I love doing April. April's podcasts were great. But for whatever reason, I feel like I'm coming with a much different approach for August. Some of my episodes are a little different because I have a more direct and more transparent presentation. But I also know that these are thoughts that I've wanted to share or have been meaning to share for a while. And I may not have gotten to them in April. I'm going to double check just to be on the safe side to make sure that if I have any episodes that I do need to get out there from April, that I have those ready as well. Because you never can, I mean, out of between 30 or 31 days, you really shouldn't run out of topics, but sometimes things happen. So we're about 2 weeks away from completing the month of August, and I'm probably pre-stepping my boundaries because I believe this month has 31. Yes, this month does have 31 days in it. So we're about 2 weeks remaining. Like I said, I didn't get to do the halfway point, so if you do see the image, you'll notice that it is a different look and a different feel as far as it's a little more than halfway point of the image, and anyone who sees and understands those know the reference behind that. I can admit this time around there's been more preparation for me, podcast wise, branding wise. I think I can't speak, I know everyone may or may not be too fond of it, but I personally will admit, since I've gone with the new approach of not putting a bunch of images and names and titles and everything, putting just the episode number helps to give you an idea of coming in to actually listen to what the podcast talks about, because it's revealing, but it's hidden, if that makes sense. And I would always, if there was an option between sharing the information or keeping it in a private manner, private is more preferred, solely because it gives you a reason to come back. And that's kind of what I want people to do when it comes to listening to these shows. Even with older episodes, and what I'm probably going to end up doing right now, it's not an issue, so I haven't really thought to do so yet. But archived older episodes, I'll probably still have them on hand, but I won't be keeping them available to listen to. And that's solely on the basis of a lot of the sports episodes, because what was talked about at that time, a lot has changed since then. And I mean, we're obviously looking at when the podcast started. I was talking about, the chances of Chicago and Golden State, competing for the record. Golden State ended up getting the 73-9 record, things of that sort. And a lot of stories have transpired since then. As we've talked about lately, it's been the Kyrie Irving saga and the Carmelo Anthony saga as to where they're going to be, where they're going to go, what their next moves are, things of that nature. But beyond that, this, like I said, for August, I will be the first to admit it's been way more creativity, much more truth, and a fair amount of transparency in getting you all into my world, into who I am and how I function as a podcaster, and obviously as a person. I will tell you all that you may not hear to see it in the shows, but I will be the first to come clean that every day has been a great day, but I still have been able to progress and move forward and just keeping the right attitude and the right mindset. And I think that's what's helped me get over the hump. I'm kind of in between about whether it's going to occur, but there will likely be a birthday podcast. I will be inviting you all to that. I know for a fact that I think I actually mentioned it a couple of episodes ago on episode 102 about MagFest. Pretty excited for that. This year should be a lot more organized for me podcasting wise than last year, so I'm looking forward to that big time. There are more stories that I have in store. At the rate I'm going, I think 12 episodes is where we are on what's left to be recorded, 12 or 11 give or take. and majority of them, the content is gonna be pretty me. I think I didn't do it in the first set in August, but I mean, yeah, in April, excuse me. But for August, I did give you all, if you go back and you listen to, I believe it was 101. Yes, I'm sorry, not 101. We'll say 95. It was 97. Either 97 or 96. I didn't have an actual number for it because I just started doing the episode numbers. It was right before I started to go into the episode number format. And I'll share this with you all because a lot of you listen and a lot of you deserve to know this. So I want to be fair in sharing this. The primary purpose of doing the episode numbers is because I don't mind, like me personally, I don't mind putting the images of what's going to be talked about in the podcast. But then between putting the images along with having the articles, you can read, but if you don't read, it's not a huge hurt or harm. So what I've learned to do now is to mainly give you the episode title, put the information in the notes. I'm gonna links I'm never gonna leave out because that's what I'm using to kind of talk to you all about the show or about the episode, so it kind of gives you a following and understanding what's going on. But also you kind of are put in the position of listening and not just assuming, okay, he's going to talk about these topics, so I'm prepared and ready to address these topics in this show. It kind of leaves it as a suspense or a surprise, which I like and I prefer anyway. Like I mentioned earlier, looking at between images and ideas, designs of what I was doing for the podcast, I went through, I've used, I believe Canva, I was using it then, and I had an initial image that I created, which was okay. But now, thanks to having some actual pictures, I was able to come up with a much better design and a better style and format for the past. And I know, like I said, social media wise, past podcast is staying. I'm not gonna, because I've talked to you all about this before, going through the name changes and identities. I don't want people to say, well, he was Brate Podcast, he was the Past Podcast, he was the past. He don't know what he's trying to be. To clear the records and set things straight, it's no point in me lifting up my entire set of podcasts, removing them from Brate Podcast, putting them on a new site for Past Podcasts. So I kept that the same. And as far as the titling, since I already had the domain, the social media, social outlets were all universal. It was just easier to keep everything streamlined with Past Podcasts. And yeah, it's redundant, but it works for the show and it kind of gives the attention. I know it, searching for it, I was excited because if you put in Past Podcasts and put my name, you literally can find my podcast, which that's my main objective at the end of the day. I will say that I have lately gained, and I'm gonna say this to let people get an idea and an understanding. It's not intentional as to how I'm treating this, but it's a benefit for me, and that is, if it's not my problem, I'm not gonna put myself in a position to deal with it. And if any of you may or may not understand what that means, send me an email, message me. You have all social media outlets available. I don't mind addressing that off show. I just know it's time. If I need to progress and move forward with what I'm working on, the only way to do so is by putting me first. And me first has not been the case. It worked for a while. I mentioned this to you all before. I went August. Well, I'm sorry. I don't know why I keep reversing these setups. April, I went out. April, I was in podcast mode, working on podcasts. May, I went out of town. The ironic part was what I was trying to achieve while I was out of town was not achieved. But as soon as I came home, it was ready and it was up and ready, good to go. So to have it all kind of come together, and now it's become a more fluid process between loading episodes, between sharing information, between educating my, listeners, users, new folks who want to do podcasting. it's just been an uphill. It's been an uphill success or upward success for me. So I'm not taking or denying that whatsoever through the process. I just wanted to at least come on the mic and just sit down and tell y'all like it. I know I say it in a lot of statuses, and a lot of times it's usually I'm just posting information and just kind of going forward. But thank you. It's appreciated. I'm glad everyone's been patient with me and knowing that it's not easy. I'm never like the one thing I truly value the most about podcasting is it's taught me a lot of how to carry myself with certain circumstances and situations. Some moments are kind of going to be in that out of control queue, but that's just the way life is, and that's just kind of the best way to look at it. So that's what I'm going to leave with you all today. I like I said, I wanted to just kind of sit down and make a more relaxed, subtle, chill podcast. Y'all know I'm always for the chill and the relaxation because I'm known to be a relaxed and calm person. That's kind of been my way to get through things. So that's what I'm going to leave y'all with tonight or today. And again, this is episode 110. Continue to listen in. Friday should be a heavy show. We're getting closer and closer to our weekly episode. I will forewarn you that the weekly episodes could change. I don't want to say how they're going to change. I will go into that once that occurrence happens, but I also don't want to get too far ahead of myself. So I'm sharing that with you all now because, as y'all know, and I think thanks to other podcasts that I've listened to and shows that I've been working on. And one thing before I continue, I have a lot of podcasts that I follow. I've been a horrible listener in checking out other shows. I'm going to get better with that because I really do love listening to other people's podcasts. Not for ideas, things that I can pull, but just to listen to other people talk about topics that they have their passion about. I used to be, anyone who knows me, literally, I got introduced to Joe Budden's podcast, and that kind of set the standard. And now listening to his shows now, I love it. So it's the same way. But working on these shows, I just want everyone to know, like, it's not, like, changes may come, but don't let the changes impact what this is all about. It's always going to be about the constant, and that's going to be addressing sports and technology, music, video games, things of that nature. Getting close, because I know it's closing out, but we're a few weeks away from college football starting and NFL starting, and I'm going to make it my goal to put more NFL and college football content, because there are some stories. I actually found a story yesterday that will be fun to talk about or interesting to talk about, and I'll go into that when we get there. But that's what I have for you today. Thank you all for tuning in. I'm not gonna bore y'all to death. Until next time, this is The Paz signing out. Another episode complete. Another show shared. Thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate you checking out any current shows or previous episodes. If you'd like to follow me on social media, you can look me up on the Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter under Paz Podcast. If you'd like to go to the website, it is available at pazpodcast.com, where you can listen to this episode as well as previous episodes. Until next time, y'all take it easy.